Hey, Sabres front office staff, I have a question. So, you've talked all offseason about how we need to give up fewer goals, we need to be better defensively, we need to let in less goals, blah, 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 blah. So, how exactly did you expect to do that with this disaster of a goaltending situation? Hey y'all, I'm Chris, this is the SaberCast, and as you know, training camp has just gotten underway for the Buffalo Sabres, and today I wanted to think about and kind of look at three of the biggest questions I think Sabres fans should have as we look at training camp. Questions that we're thinking about, questions that we want answers to, questions that aren't being answered directly in the press conferences, and I want to kind of take what's been said and what we've read so far in the media and from the mouth of the organization itself and kind of see, like, does that square out? Like, is that actually what's going to happen? So I'm going to take in these three questions. We're going to go through them and we're going to talk about them. And if you have opinions about them, I want to hear them. So please leave a comment for me. We can talk about it down below. But let's look at the three questions. So first of all, I think the number one question we have right now is about UPL. Okay, Luukkonen is injured, and the Sabres so far, GM Kevin Adams and Lindy Ruff have both kind of downplayed it, although I will honestly say I think Ruff sounded more concerned than Kevin Adams did. And that makes me worried because Ruff said, I'm optimistic he's going to be able to come back and play with no limit. I don't like that word optimistic. When people say optimistic, it kind of means, well, if everything goes right, they're going to come back and be fine. But again, that leaves a lot open to me. So let's look at what they have said here. So GM Kevin Adams said that in his first press conference that it was a lower body injury. He did disclose that. He had to be pressed by the media even to disclose that. Someone asked directly, was it a hip injury? And he had to say that initially he wasn't going to say anything. Like, he said, I don't want to get into weeds about the injury situation. Get in the weeds. Tell us something. Well, he was able to give us that it was a lower body injury and that it was a tweak that occurred while UPL was ramping up his offseason training to be ready for camp. The media speculated it could be a hip injury, but just the words used, tweak, ramping up, lower body, and the fact that they signed Georgiev, I'm thinking maybe, and speculation's bad about injuries, I know. It could be I'm thinking worst case, it's probably a groin, right? And groin injuries would make a lot of sense in this situation because groin injuries for goalies are pretty much the worst thing you can get. And they're tricky in that they can heal, but they are easy to re-injure. And the strength doesn't always come back right away, so it can be hard to play up to your standard right away on them. So I think there's a big fear of setbacks in UPL's rehab. Yeah, right now, it might not be so serious, but he has to rehab it, and there's a big chance that he could re-injure it or have a setback. And that would, to me, explain why Georgiev was signed. Because if it's a groin, you actually don't know how long he's going to be out. You could say he's going to be out 2 weeks, but then there's a setback and he's out 2 months. Or he tries to start playing again, but he doesn't have the strength. He's skating again, he's practicing again, but he doesn't have the strength to be competitive in goal. These things can linger. And so that's one of the reasons why I think you would sign another goalie. I think if it's like a bone injury or another type of muscle injury, those can heal up pretty well, and you're not at so much of a chance of re-injury. But a groin right before the start of the season is the absolute worst thing because it can seem healed, but you can't play at full strength, or you could re-injure it. And so I think that's the only reason you would go out and sign another goalie. Now, it could heal, but again, there's the fear of setbacks. So you're running this season, you have Georgiev and you have Alex Lyon, and they're going to be competing for the job, probably the starting job in camp, and then that'll bleed into being the backup once UPL comes back. But if they're not confident in UPL's ability to play, the Sabres, they might be in a situation where you're carrying three goalies, and you might even be carrying three, quote, healthy goalies into the start of the regular season just because you're unsure of what UPL's injury is. And I know they don't give injury explanations or definitions in hockey. It's always lower body, upper body. It's always secret. But just the way they're talking about it, the optimistic side, the tweak, I think it's kind of a tough injury that's going to be unpredictable to deal with. He might come back. He might not come back. And I think they're trying to avoid saying that, and they're trying to say it in the most positive way possible. So that's my theory, right? Take that for what you will. I'm not an expert. I'm not in the room. But just what they've said and my years watching and listening to hockey, this is kind of where I think they're at, right? The second question we are asking going into camp is about Alex Tuch. And when the heck is Alex Tuch going to be re-signed? And I think, honestly, this is the most important question on the list for the Sabres as an organization. You have to think, the Buffalo Sabres have let Jack Eichel go. They've let Reinhart go. If they let Tuch go, do they have any... they have no credibility now. Will they have absolutely any credibility left? I don't think so, especially now the Sabres have the cap space to pay him. But he's not going to be cheaped out either. And this is age 29, age 30 season. It's his last chance to get a big contract with length. So he's not going to be underpaid. There's going to be no hometown discount here. Also, even if he wants to be in Buffalo, I'm sure the guy wants to win. So if you maybe, as a play on his part, let's wait 2 or 3 months into the season. Let's see if this team's going to be competitive. Because if this team's going to be in the toilet again, maybe I want to take my talents elsewhere. Because maybe I want to play in the playoffs at some point in my career. I don't want to be a part of another teardown, another, quote, rebuild. But again, if the Sabres let him go, I think it's going to start a chain reaction where almost all of the other core pieces are going to want out. I think you're going to see... I know Dahlin is under lock and key, but I think he's going to probably start pushing to get moved at some point, have his contract changed, or he might instigate a way out. It's been documented. He says he's happy in Buffalo, but I think he wants to win, and I think he wants to be in a market where he's going to get recognized. And then, of course, Dahlin, maybe the other young, talented guys want to go too. It could trigger a total roster meltdown. I think re-signing Alex Tuch, even if you have to overpay for him, because of what you've done previously and your lack of credibility in terms of keeping your good young players and just building something, I think if it's just more of the same, not only are the players going to be frustrated and want out, if any fans have been able to keep the faith over the 14 years, they're going to want out too. And the NHL already is coming in with questions about how the Sabres are being operated. If you let another star go, they're not going to be happy because you've taken a hockey market and you're basically just gradually ripping its heart out. Eventually, you're going to lose interest. Sabres fans are really good, really passionate. Like, they go to games even though the team's been terrible for a long time. Like, Sabres fans are hardcore. Buffalo fans in general are hardcore. You can only deal with so much, and you're basically kneecapping the market every time you let one of the bright young stars go. So I think this is a case where the Sabres have to pony up and have to get this deal across the line, even if it takes more than they want, even if they have to pay more than they want. I think it has to happen. Now, will they? I have no idea. This organization tends to be very cheap, and it tends to be very fearful of locking itself into long-term contracts unless it's for an average goalie. So it's kind of a tough decision there. I don't have a lot of confidence they're going to get it across the line. If they do, we'll be over the moon. I think we'll all be over the moon. All Sabres fans are going to be happy and excited because it'll show that this organization finally, maybe for once, cares about winning. And I think we really need that right now. The final point is, because they've said it so many times in these press conferences, it's going to be what they're evaluated on. Will this commitment to defense be enough, and will it actually come to fruition? So I think in his opening press conference this year, Lindy Ruff said it 600 times. We got to clean up the defense. We got to clean up the defense. We got to be more responsible defensively. We got to play harder in the defensive zone. He said it every different way you could imagine. And I think everyone agrees. I mean, obviously the defense was bad last year. The defensive contribution from the forwards was bad. The defensive contribution from the defense was bad. The defensive contribution from the goaltenders was bad. So, yes, the team has to get better defensively. And they have done that in terms of their offseason acquisitions. They have lost goal scoring. They have sacrificed goal scoring for defense. Now, I think they can make it up based on what we've seen so far of the roster. But losing the 27 goals from Peterka doesn't just affect, it's not just about 27 goals, it's also about the opportunities having a 27 goal scorer on the ice creates for the line mates. So in that sense, they're going to lose 27 goals. They're probably going to lose more than 27 goals because the opportunities will not necessarily be there. And I think the bigger aspect affecting the team overall is the goaltending. I don't care if you have the best defensive core in the world. If you're running out goaltenders who can't stop the puck, it doesn't really matter. A bad defense will accentuate bad goaltending. But bad goaltending can kneecap a good defense. And we're looking at a situation now where you have an injured UPL. Alex Lyon is fine. And we have no idea what Georgiev's going to be. But if you took these three goalies and you line them up against all the other goalies in the league, you do not have a top 30 goalie on this roster right now. UPL was a top 30 goaltender 2 years ago. Alex Lyon is on the cusp of being a top 30 goaltender. Georgiev was a top 30 goaltender not last season, maybe 3 years ago. His first season in Colorado, he was a top goaltender. The next year, he was buoyed by a great team and a lot of wins, but his numbers weren't good, and last year was a train wreck. So that back part, that goaltending foundation is not strong. The goal scoring foundation has taken a big hit. So you're putting a lot on your bottom six and on your defense to play defense. But your defense is going to have to score offense because the forward group maybe isn't that deep. Now, Lindy Ruff would argue, he'd say, well, yeah, but we have a 40 goal scorer, we have a number of 20 goal scorers. That's all well and good. But they can't play the whole game. And there's not enough depth across the team, I think, to keep that goal scoring pressure up the whole game. And that's where you lose these games by a goal, is if you can't maintain pressure the whole game, you get tired and you make mistakes later in the game. So they need more. I think the bottom six additions are going to help a lot. I think the bottom six is going to hold up a lot better and is going to contribute more offensively. But it's kind of those middle six guys, the second and third line guys, those are where the question marks are. And they are the ones who have to really figure it out defensively, and they also have to boost their offensive game. But I think you're asking them to do too much. And if the goaltending's bad, none of it's going to matter anyway. So the defensive commitment is great, but you still have to score goals, and you still have to stop pucks. And I don't think the Sabres have enough in those two areas for that commitment to defense to matter. Again, I've said it a lot. They have raised the floor, but I don't know if they've raised the ceiling. Committing to defense is raising the floor. But is the ceiling high enough to get this team to the playoffs? That's the question we're going to find out throughout the year. But what do you think about these questions? How serious is UPL's injury? Is Alex Tuch going to be re-signed? And will this commitment to defense pay off in the end? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below if you have something you want to say. We can talk about it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And if you want to see more Sabres content, please subscribe to the channel. We have a great season in front of us. Don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but we're going to have a lot of fun along the way. So thanks for watching. As always, go Sabres. Bye-bye.